Hey guys, how's it going? It's Keeping Me back with another video. Today I wanted to make another one of these shogi videos to kind of track my progress. The reason being is that there was some nice book move stuff in here, and I kind of want to see my Joseki knowledge over time. But yeah, I chose today's game also because it was quite accurate. I had 1 inaccuracy, and this was against a 4Q, and I'm still 5Q. So yeah, the last game we looked at was shikenbisha versus ibisha, so 4th file rook versus static rook. And today's game is shikenbisha versus migishikenbisha. So we're going to both be lining up here, and I'll show you that I managed to achieve the ideal formation against migishikenbisha here. I was gote, and the opponent opened their bishop line, so I did the same, and then they closed their bishop line. And this kind of cuts off any possibilities for KKS like I did last time. So I just went straight for the 4th file rook here. The opponent brought this silver out, and here you can kind of already guess that they might be going for migishiken, because if they weren't, they would probably push this pawn. Sometimes they push this pawn and then go like this also later, but we'll see that I was right, and they just went for migishiken. So we both kind of just keep developing, and here they've confirmed that they're doing that basically. I push my rook pawn, and then they bring the rook over. And then here I'm going to start going for that ideal formation, which is that you want to bring your bishop here and this silver up here, and we'll see why later. So I start with that, and then the opponent does some other stuff. We just kind of keep castling and doing some in-between stuff. And here I complete Mino, and my opponent pushes back their edge pawn. Here I started to bring that silver up like you should aim for, and the opponent also just develops normally. Here the opponent opens their bishop line once again, and I generally like to make this exchange. So they took my bishop, and I took with the knight. This is good because the opponent will also try to bring their knight forward, and we will both have attackers on this square, and I will have more if my knight's here. So that's what I aim for. And then the opponent did this pawn exchange and dropped their bishop here. Now we'll see my 1 inaccuracy came here, and this gave a little bit of eval to Sente. The reason I chose this move is because I was analyzing a different game of mine, and the computer suggested this once. I'm not entirely sure what's different here, but apparently it was wrong. I should have dropped this pawn instead, and then, allowed this exchange to happen, but I didn't like that, and I saw that something similar might happen, so I just dropped that there to protect this knight. The opponent then advanced their knight, which is fairly common, and then I drew my silver back because it's being attacked. The opponent pushed this pawn. This was a slight inaccuracy because they should have brought this silver forward to not only clear their rook line but protect this pawn. But because they did not do that, I just took that pawn. Then the opponent advanced their knight, which is generally a move that happens, but usually it's when the bishop is here because it forces it to either move there or there. But my bishop was not being attacked by this knight, so instead I just took it. But the computer suggests that they should have attacked my knight head instead, which is generally good because the knight's head is always weak. So instead I just took that. I thought there might be an exchange, but the opponent just went ahead and took my bishop there, and then I took back with my rook. I didn't really think it was an issue. The opponent dropped there. Here basically is when I ran out of book moves. They probably should have dropped here like the computer suggests because, I mean, I wouldn't have seen it, but it's because it attacks both of these squares, so that would have been nice. And then we could have maybe tried to aim for this, or the opponent could take my lance. But that's not what happened. The opponent dropped there, and then I found this cool move, this knight drop. This was nice because it not only blocks the bishop, but is protected by my silver, and it checks the king. And it kind of is looking at these 2 squares where the king might want to run to. The computer suggested that the king run forward like this, but I also would not have done that because this square is cut off if it wants to run forward, and it can't run here because of my silver. So the opponent moved back, which is also what I would have done. It just looks a little more secure going this way. But then I dropped this bishop, and this is nice because if the opponent takes it, I can promote here, and then I have a fork. So the opponent saw that and instead drew their rook back. And so from here I can save this knight by taking that pawn and promoting. The opponent then dropped their pawn here to try and attack this knight. This is good because it's what's causing the most danger to the king here. But then I promoted this other knight instead because it's a fork, and I figured if I was going to lose this, I should at least be able to take one of these. So the opponent did not take this knight, but instead moved their rook over to attack my bishop here. And here I thought for almost a full minute, and this is a 10-minute game, so don't have too much time. But I ended up deciding that I didn't care about the attack on this, and instead took this silver. This is threat mate now, with either a silver drop or bringing this up here. And so I was just kind of hoping the opponent wouldn't respond properly, and they didn't. So, hopefully in the future I can find some more endgames where I don't have to rely on opponent's mistakes, but here I got lucky, and the opponent did not respond properly and took that silver. They probably should have taken that knight, because that's what facilitated the checkmate there, but I just dropped that silver and won the game. So, there we go. That's my progress up until now, so I hope to do more of these games in the future and kind of see where I go. But I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you later. Bye.